Hello, everyone, and welcome to Liv Sattviko Talks. Good morning, everyone. We are on the episode 4 of this series, and we are trying to build global brands from India and helping them to reach overseas markets. Our guest today is Mr. Prafull Dwivedi. Uh, he is the CEO of Foodkraft International in the Middle East. He's an industry stalwart, and we have known him for a few years. He has spent almost 20 years in the Middle East working for brands like Himalaya, Care, VLCC. And his last corporate role in 2018, he was the Chief Business Officer for Southeast Asia for VLCC. He has also held positions as the CEO for Middle East, GCC, and African countries. Welcome, Mr. Prafull. So happy to have you with us on this episode. And look forward to an engaging conversation and your help for young minds from India.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you for having me over. It's an absolute pleasure talking to the young, dynamic people like you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prafull. So my first question to you is, what advice would you give to young brands like ours from India, both food and non-food? And how can they launch in the UAE market? And how can they actually grab significant market share there?
Well, Ayush, honestly, I will take this question into a slightly different fashion, where I have certain perspectives on how Indian brands or Indian products could get into the international market. And I would start not only UAE, I'm saying in terms of if they want to go global, how exactly they should take the process forward is. I think the first thing that Indian brands should do is to define why you want to go global. I think that's the most important part. What are the objectives? Do you want to do export, and that's why you want to go global, or you are serious about doing international business? And let me explain to you the difference between the international business and exports. Export as a process finishes the moment you receive your bill of lading. Once your goods have gone on board a vessel, your process finishes. International business as a process starts when your goods actually hit the shelves in the supermarket, and we are talking a specific FMCG at this point of time, right? So there's a vast difference in the thought process itself. Is the thought process to just send out goods and let them go to the market, and the person receiving should take care of everything that is happening? Or you are actually looking at building your international business, building your brand, and really, really going global in its genuine sense. Which is where I've seen in my 20 years of being abroad and being here and traveling across the globe and seeing how Indian brands have positioned themselves. I see a huge gap between the two. So if you want to sell containers, then you continue being an exporter, find a trader who will buy your goods and will do whatever he wants to do with the goods. But if you genuinely want to build your brand, like I'm seeing Sattviko building its brand in the past few years, like I've been associated with some of the fabulous success stories of Indian brands, and I've been fortunate to be part of those stories. Or if we take the examples of large brands which have become really international, like Dabur, like Godrej, like Marico, or Himalaya. I think it's very, very important for us to understand that how fundamentally they made the change in the whole process. Yeah, I think the defining starts at who is your TG in the international market. Are you looking at only servicing the Indian diaspora? Then the treatment has to be very different.
Right.
Or if you are looking at actually targeting the global citizens, the international audience. Now, people find it very easy to say that I'm a successful Indian brand. In India, I'm doing phenomenally well. And that is a reason enough for me to reach to the markets where there are large number of Indian diaspora exists, including the UAE or the GCC countries or in the US, and think that just by putting the same fundamentals in place, they would be able to become successful in these markets. Also saying that, it's the same population that it's the same bunch of people we are catering to. But mind you, the difference that we don't realize while doing that is that the Indians who are living abroad, even though they are Indians by the virtue of having an Indian passport, are not really the typical today's Indians as living in India, right? The reason being that they have been living abroad for 10, 15, 20 years. The exposure to the international market, the international brands, the international business, or the international products has been for them as equal to as it is for any non-Indian living abroad. So in this sense of the consumer habits, in the sense of them perceiving a brand and a product for their uses, they would be looking at it like any other international citizen would be looking at.
So my next question to you is, what are the kind of opportunities for new age Indian brands which they can harness in markets like US?
See, in how I've been seeing in past few years, and I would say more specific to what I'm seeing in India, that's happening in terms of the consumerism and the amount of new concepts which are being developed, both for Indian foods or Indian foods that can become global, and more specific to foods. If we talk about like what Sattviko has done is something which is phenomenal. You know, you have picked up the Indian superfoods, which we never gave so much of value to. We never attached so much of value to a makhana. We never attached so much of value to a kishmish. Those continued being with us for all our lives, but we never thought that these foods could actually be marketed. These were commodities which have been converted into a brand and into a product proposition, which can not only appeal to the Indian palate, but it actually appeals to the international palate. And with some of the samples that I had of Sattviko at some point of time, I actually did a test with some of the local Emirati nationals, and they just loved the flavors that we were able to add to those Indian superfoods, be it your khakra chips or the makhanas. I think those kind of customization, those kind of value additions, if we look, and more so if we can look from the point of view of what could appeal to the international market, you know, adding peri peri flavor to a makhana, you know, makes it a super hit for a simple reason that that flavor is international, and the superfood that you've added is coming from India, and we know that's a superfood. I think those are the kind of things that the opportunities that exist in the market. It's just that people have to think slightly out of the box, look from the point of view of where are the need gaps that exist in the market for the Indian diaspora as well as for the international customers. And if those need gaps could be filled in, you will have fantastic acceptance going around. Health food is in any case is a big segment, growing segment in post-COVID, or from the time of COVID, we have all seen that everybody's first focus has become health. And these are the times when a lot of ethnic health foods, if they could be represented in the format, Indian ethnic foods, which could be represented in the international formats, could become a big and a great hit, and which is what you guys in Sattviko are doing currently. Yeah.
So, Mr. Prafull, UAE is technically a global village itself. You probably have most nationalities represented in the UAE market. So, what are the specific gaps in FMCVN, specifically in food segment, which you see that some Indian brands can go and capture those?
You know, honestly, it's very difficult to say that what are the need gaps that exist as such, because as you said, the UAE being the global, and I would say more specific to Dubai, being the global city, a city which has got every country's representation happening here. So it's a paradise for foodies. You know, from Indian, Asian to American to European to Chinese to Japanese to any kind of food that you're looking for, even African food, if you're looking for, it's all available in here. I think the opportunities would exist in these segments where it is far easier for the consumers to be able to quickly turn it around. So I would say ready to cook and ready to eat is a segment. And in that ready to cook and ready to eat segment, if you are actually able to kind of bust that myth that consumers have in their mind, that if there is anything which is ready, which is pre-prepared or ready to eat, would have those preservatives which are unhealthy and so on and so forth. If you are able to kind of burst that myth for the consumers, I think that segment is growing at a rapid pace. People don't have time. Even if those have time, have enough and more other things to do. to keep themselves engaged rather than spend too much of time in kitchen. So I think the opportunity exists in those segments where ready to eat and ready to cook is going to be the buzzword.
Interesting insight, Mr. Prafull. Thank you, Mr. Prafull. So my last question to you is, Prafull, obviously COVID has taken a huge toll on almost all countries across the world. So what do you see the changing landscape of the customers' behavior pre and post COVID in the last 18 months?
We are in the middle of the pandemic even now. So what will happen post pandemic is something nobody has seen. Let me tell you, whatever we have experienced in past 14 months, so things that have changed dramatically and drastically in terms of consumer habits is by the virtue of all of us being asked and forced to stay home, we all have become very e-commerce savvy.
Right.
You know, some of the largest supermarket chains over here in this part of the world, they have started to rely even up to 40-50% of their total sales through the e-commerce channel. Now that has brought in a tremendous amount of change in the consumer habits also. And let me tell you how. Now, when I'm sitting to shop for my groceries on a computer, you know, the time that I have in my hand is far more. I'm much more relaxed. I'm not running in a supermarket where I'm pushing my trolley to another trolley and going through the aisle to search for food. I have to look at a large aisle to see exactly what exists if I'm looking for something new. Here, what is happening is that because I'm sitting on my computer and I'm able to see so many options just by scrolling the screens, consumer habits in terms of experimentation of the new products and concepts has grown tremendously. And that offers a huge opportunity for the entrepreneurs or for the new product concept people coming in. It has become, we have actually quite literally, without physically reaching the households, the e-commerce has provided us the platform for us to be able to communicate with our consumers so closely and directly. And they are able to absorb far more than what they would be able to do it on a shelf, because when you are going to the supermarket, you have limited time you're running. Here, you have your own time. You can put things in your basket, even if you don't want to buy them. You can come back after 2 hours, look at your basket. You can come back after 2 days and look at your basket, decide, search, research, get more information about the product and try. And in that sequence, I have seen that there is a tremendous amount of trial generation that a lot of products and brands are able to create by becoming far more attractive to the consumers and offering them something which is very unique about themselves. You have time to describe yourself as a product. You have time to describe yourself as a brand, and consumers are giving it attention as to who you are. And that's the reason that you would see, I'm seeing huge amount of stories of various consumer habits which are changing tremendously. I don't think anybody had ever thought that they would start to buy meats and fruits and vegetables online on computer. And they will be delivered to you. I had never thought that we would be buying frozen stuff through e-commerce. We had never thought of such a thing, but now we are buying everything through e-commerce portal. So that is one big change which has come in, and that offers tremendous amount of opportunity. Even for those brands who want to come into the market, do not have those deep pockets that were required originally for them to go into the traditional trade, for paying the entry cost and then paying the display cost and so on and so forth and etc. Now they have the opportunity to go to the selective e-commerce portals if they want to test and try the market. Selective e-commerce portal, put yourself up there. If it's your cost is if you conduct a sale, then only you incur an expense. If you don't conduct a sale, you don't incur an expense, which is very different from what you were doing in the traditional trade. Once you have taken up a shelf on rent, it is there. The rent meter is running whether you are selling or not selling. So I think that offers tremendous amount of opportunity for the new products, new concept ideas to come on board and expose themselves to the consumers. And I'm sure some of them could actually be quite successful.
Despite all the suffering from the pandemic, I guess this is a boon for young brands like us, where they can launch their products and capture market share in the post-COVID era. And I am sure this is here to stay for the next many years. The acceleration of digital spends and digital buying by consumers has grown tremendously over the last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, what I foresee is that this is not something which is gonna go away. When I say even after pandemic is gone, now what is happening is the consumers have started to inculcate that habit of convenience. Now the local apps over here are offering you delivery in 4 hours and 3 hours, and fresh stuff that is coming to your doorstep. I think this is a habit which is getting inculcated in the post-COVID era. Whenever, and let's hope that COVID gets over sooner than later, this is a habit which is not going to go away. So e-commerce has got its own share of mind, which is with the space that it has taken in people's mind is going to remain there. And it's not going to change drastically or dramatically. Even after everything goes fine and we are not required to wear a mask, I firmly believe that it is not going to go away so soon. It is something which has become part of our existence now, and that will continue to be.
Thank you, Mr. Prafull. Great insights on this talk today. This parting thoughts. So, how can you and Foodkraft help Indian brands in the Middle East markets? And I would just like to get some pointers from you.
So at Foodkraft, what we do is we actually represent the global unique food concepts that want to come into this part of the world. And I'm not only very specific to the Indian branch itself. However, I take pride in being able to grow and sounds like a cliche, but that's not the reality. But we take special happiness out of if we are able to support and grow the Indian brands that are coming in here. But at Foodkraft, we actually we represent a few global brands that have unique concept and it doesn't exist in this part of the world. And we actually bring those brands in here. What we do is we actually become you in this part of the world. For example, if there are companies, if there are products and concepts who have their own limitations of not being able to have a significant presence in this part of the world, we become you. We become your marketing team. We become your eyes and ears. We become your brand custodians. We represent your brand in this part of the world.
Thank you, Mr. Prafull. Great insights on the talk. It was great speaking to you. Thank you for taking out the time for us.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure, and I'm glad that I'm able to talk to you and give a few viewpoints, which I hope and really that they will really help the Indian entrepreneurs who are looking to come into the global market. I'm available anytime. Anything I can provide to anyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prafull.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.